Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet. I hope everybody's having a good day. How's everybody doing? Good, 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 good. Yeah, wonderful, fantastic, fantastic. So, I'm kind of trying to organize this. I wanted to have somebody on with me. In fact, I think I'm going to have Mansur Ashkar, who is a Druze himself, who will most likely be joining me later. If he can't join right now, I will probably have him join later today or on the weekend or something. But he might be here in a little bit. Who is so Mansur Ashkar is a Druze himself. He has his own channel and all that. And but I want to briefly talk about the Druze here today because there's some really messed up stuff happening in Syria, and Israel started bombing certain locations in Syria in response to the Druze being attacked inside Syria by Islamists and by the Syrian government. Oh, Mansur is joining me just in a second here. Good, wonderful. So, how's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? Everybody's okay? Everybody's all right? Good, 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 good. I want to cover some of the stuff that is happening in Syria today. I don't know how many of you have seen it, but so there is the Druze community, and I want to talk a little bit about who the Druze are, because lots of people don't know anything about them, understandably so, because I think there are only like 1 million or so of them around. And right now, the Islamists are trying to make sure that they also get rid of those millions, those million that are left there. The Druze are their own ethno-religious community, their own ethno-religious group in the Middle East. There are many of them in Libya, not Libya. There are many of them in Lebanon and in Syria and in Israel. And in Israel, they are living very, very freely and happily. In Syria, they have been living in some autonomous mountain area in the south. However, they have undergone repeated aggressions, repeated attacks, and right now, the certain Bedouin factions or certain Islamic factions inside Syria have started fighting with them and started massacring them with the help of the Syrian government. And I want to get some help to explain a little bit of that in about a minute when Mansur joins me here as well. I was going to talk a little bit about who the Druze are, but I might as well just get his opinion or his updates directly, because he's also in touch with Druze people in the field. D says the videos I saw are horrific. I know I saw quite a few videos. I didn't want to look at all of them, but some of the videos going around are really, really, really messed up. There are videos that they are simply shooting on their phones and then publishing, where they are torturing, executing, or simply humiliating Druze civilians. And they're doing that gleefully, joyfully, just for fun, as it seems, while saying that they will get rid of them, that they are pigs, and so on. And Mansur, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me here, brother.
No problem. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining on such short notice.
Yeah.
We haven't talked before, you and I, but we have been in touch a little bit loosely.
Somehow I feel like we did talk, but I guess just because we interacted, but you're right, we've never really been in touch like this, face to face.
That's true. That's true. So Mansur Ashkar, for all those who don't know you are Druze, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. Can you introduce yourself to everyone who is here who
Of
doesn't know?
course. So I'm a Druze, born and raised in Israel, a former officer in the IDF, a member of the Special Forces, and I have my own YouTube and podcast channel as well that I started quite shortly after October 7, basically. trying to give a better picture about what's happening in Israel and the situation there from the perspective of military as well. And as a Middle Eastern that was born and raised in the area, I was a negotiator in the army. So I studied also the history of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism to understand how many cycles, and psychology, to understand how many cycles are in the Middle East. Right now, I have relatives in Syria, and I'm in touch with the fighters on the ground that are trying to defend their homes from these jihadists and from the government of Jawlani, basically, that is trying to come. And for those who don't understand, maybe if you don't mind me just kind of throwing a bit brief about what's happening in Syria.
Yeah, let's do it.
So the government of Jawlani is a very radical Salafi, kind of religion. Now, that's the most extreme way of practicing Islam, you can call it, and they're trying to impose the most extreme Sharia law on all of Syria. And their goal is to make Syria basically, the way they see it, cleansed from anyone who's not Sunnah and from anyone who doesn't think like them. And the best place to start is with the Christians, the Alawites, the minorities, the Druze. The Druze were one of the only ones that did not really bend the knee and kind of stood and said, we're not going to allow this to happen. And then they decided to come and butcher and kill them all. They brought tanks, they brought drones, they brought artillery. So this is undoubtedly the government. It's not just, the Bedouin clans. The first round, when they were trying to massacre them, and we've seen these horrific videos, shaving the beards, killing people, kidnapping girls, same thing like we saw on October 7. It's the same kind of mentality, same backward, radical Muslim mentality. And they lost thanks to Israel. Israel went in and basically blew the hell out of them, and also went and launched a missile on the Syrian Pentagon and blew it to pieces. El-Shara, the ISIS, Al-Qaeda leader of Syria, he fled, I guess out of fear for his life. And now the Muslims there, they felt very humiliated that they were defeated by, the Druze and the Israelis. So now they're actually piling trucks and convoys from all over. I just had a voice recording from one of the Druze guys who's a photographer, but now he's fighting in the streets for several days. And he was asking me just a genuine question. He said, like, what kind of a crazy backward mentality? There's people that live 700 kilometers from me. I've never met them. I've never wronged any of them. And they want to kill me so badly that they're jumping on trucks and coming so they can kill us all and slaughter us. And that's the situation basically kind of in a nutshell.
So I want to ask you some questions here, but so first off, for those who have absolutely no idea of what is going on in Syria after the Syrian civil war, after Assad was overthrown, Jolani and his Islamist goons took over. So they overthrew Assad, and some people naively thought, "Oh, this is good." So the civil war is going to end, and now it's a good government is going to be established. No, it is an Islamist government. Jolani, the head of it, was at some point part of Al-Qaeda, about which he never expressed any regret, and he also collaborated with ISIS in the past. And he was part of an offshoot of Al-Qaeda called HTS, which wanted to counter to Al-Qaeda, make a more pragmatic national movement, but pretty much within the very same ideological and religious beliefs as Al-Qaeda. The only reason that HTS and Al-Qaeda kind of at a minor level clashed was that Al-Qaeda had a more universal mission, whereas HTS said, okay, we need to focus right now on Syria. So he has taken over, and this Islamist government is in charge and is currently treated as a transitional government, but it is very much taking over and holding Syria currently in its grips. And while under this government, Jolani pretends to be very diplomatic and pretends to be all-inclusive for all the people in Syria, his actions, or under his watch, lots of terrorist attacks happened against minorities, against Christians. We had them. We have them now against the Druze. We have the massacre of the Alawites going on, and so on. that is a completely different discussion. It's a big can of worms to fight between the Sunni and the Alawites, but also has to do with the fact that Assad himself is an Alawite, but the whole Druze situation is a little bit different. Now, Mansour, you said you were an officer in the IDF, right?
That's correct.
But that's kind of confusing because lots of people are saying that Israel is, or the IDF is like this Jewish supremacist thing, but you are telling me you're Druze, you're not Jewish, and you were an officer in the IDF.
Yeah, and most of my soldiers were Jewish, and I gave them a lot of shit. But that's what officers do, you know. That's what officers do. It's one of the biggest lies, and I think one of the reasons also that Islam in general, you know, big portion of Islam hates the Druze, especially in Israel, because it's the best example that coexistence does exist in Israel, and that Israel is probably the best country in the Middle East for minorities and Arabs. And whoever come peacefully and say, hey, let's live together, let's coexist together. You know, as we're like, a few months ago, there was a bunch of teenage girls, Druze, from the village of Yarka, that sent a satellite to space. Meanwhile, teenage minority girls in Syria are being kidnapped and becoming sex slaves, and in many, many Muslims in countries in the world. In Druze, we have judges, we have parliament members that are Druze. Women can walk freely, can work and job, can drive. It sounds crazy, but you will understand me. Women can drive cars. Some places that's really looked down on in some Muslim countries. So Israel gives equal opportunities, and the Druze and the Jews are actually the only groups in Israel that share all the responsibilities and obligations, all the rights and obligations. Other minorities, for example, don't have to serve in the army, but they have all the rights.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be honest, the reason they have good life there is because they're protected by the IDF.
Now, some people say that, or some people think or have the assumption that Druze are just also another Muslim group, and we often see people say Arab Druze, and then they say Muslim Druze. Now, with Arab Druze, to my knowledge, there is no big problem because Druze and Arab is kind of ethnically intermingled, intertwined, or something. But Druze became its own culture after a while. But let me get it from this angle. Over the last few days, I've seen many videos by Islamists, very horrific videos, by the way, but some just them standing around and shouting into a camera that they will go and kill these pigs, the Druze pigs, and these mustaches, and rip their mustaches off their faces and so on. Meanwhile, others here are acting like Druze are just another form of Muslim. But these Islamists describe the Druze as idol worshippers and so on. Lots of people obviously do not know what Druze are and what Druze believe. So how about can you explain the difference a little bit?
Yes, so the Druze is considered a secret religion. And I have my theory why is it secret. But in general, the Druze, to jump from the end and come back to the start, the Druze are not Muslims. Okay. They're not Muslims. They have their own faith, their own religion. However, under Muslim countries, being a non-Muslim, unless you're Jew or a Christian, is sentenced to death. You're a kuffar. As you know very well, Islam, it's very easy to enter Islam. They're very welcome. Not many high standards at all. But it's impossible to leave. They want to kill you if you leave, and they want to kill basically anyone that is not Muslim. The only ones they don't want to kill, well, they'll probably want to kill them, but I guess, somewhere along the line, because they had to use them as a way to prove themselves as a religion, they said that the people of the book and the Christians are in some ways had a purpose for God's plan, so we don't need to kill them, but they live in a very humiliating way. So the Druze undoubtedly need to be killed. Now, my theory why the Druze is a secret religion, and I'm sure many Druze will not agree with me because they try to think I'm not a religious person. Mm-hmm. So I think many of them look at it, kind of mystically or theologically. I think it's a very simple answer. Because they've been living under Islam and they're offshot of the Shia, they use the classic taqiyya to hide their identity to survive. Many people hear the word taqiyya and it's permission to lie in Islam, but usually it's used in order to promote the agenda of Islam with jihad, etc., or to survive, literally to survive. So the Druze in many places, even till today, up until not long ago in Syria, were saying, yeah, we're Muslims. And then the Muslims were testing them. Yeah, you're Muslim, let me marry your daughter. Now the Druze don't allow to, they marry inside the Druze. No one can convert to Druze. It's not a missionary religion. And they kind of went and lived in their own mountains far away just to be left alone. And now, after, it's interesting actually, one of the reasons that all of this shit started happening is when Assad regime fell down, Israel allowed a delegation of religious Druze men to come to Israel and to go visit the holy place that they had. And they were welcomed very nicely in Israel by the Jews and by the Druze. And that really ignited a lot of hate from Syria. And I thought, you're traitors, you love the Jews. And then they've been looking for excuses. And now they're basically saying clearly, that the pig is outside of the box. And they're saying they're not Muslims and they should be all killed. So they called a all-on jihad. The Druze in Syria are experiencing right now an October 7 on an epic scale. The only difference is when Israel experienced on October 7, the same thing, was a genocidal attempt. The first line of jihadists were stopped by civilians and by special forces. Many of my friends from my unit were one of the first to reach there, if it's by helicopters or cars, fighting few against many. We're talking numbers of sometimes 4 to 7 people against 200. And they took down a lot of them, but many of them also died. And then the main army came and contained the situation. So the genocidal attempt of Gaza was stopped with 1,200 civilians casualties. In Syria, there's no IDF to protect the Druze. The problem is actually that the army, the IDF of Syria, is the one committing the October 7. So that makes it even worse. So if Israel would have not intervened, the massacres would have been maybe in the numbers of tens of thousands, if not even more. I mean, radical Islam. When do you think will they stop? If they run to a place and they
won't stop.
They won't stop. It's like a plague.
They will not stop until they can somehow maybe force the population to live like little slaves, like little animals that obey them and do whatever they say, and put up with their abuse. Maybe then they will have a little bit of a pause to their atrocities. Maybe if they can somehow.
In Aleppo, they had the chance to do that, and they tricked them to give down their weapons, and then they basically killed them because they said, even though you convert, you're Muslims. I think they will stop after they kill the military-age males, and will take the girls and as sex slaves and the young men as slaves, basically.
That's pretty much what it looks like. So here was when after the Assad regime fell. People from the leadership of the Druze leadership, many of them crossed the border into Israel to visit Israel for the first time and to have cordial interactions with Israeli leaders, with the Druze leaders in Israel, to visit their holy sites and so on, and then to go back again into Syria. This happened, and of course, a lot of anti-Druze or Islamist people in these territories. In Syria, then started asking the question, why in the world are they doing this? Are they on the side of the Jews, the evil Jews? And everybody knows. Everybody knows exactly what the Islamic message is about Jews and about being good with Jews and about collaborating with Jews. If you do it, you are evil and you are probably a traitor and you probably deserve to be killed. So the Jews were immediately perceived not only just after, this is just an excuse. This is just an excuse. But the Druze this was immediately used as propaganda that the Druze are collaborating with the evil Jews against the Muslims. And the very interesting thing about this is also, so the Druze started out as an offshoot of certain Shia sects in the 11th century, with its own theology and its own esoteric teachings. Back then, the Shia, while they had some power, were still on a on a local, private level, not very open with their religious beliefs. And the Druze came out in such an environment as even more offshoot and even more secretive, and made it a core doctrine actually since then to be completely secretive about their beliefs and about their ideas and all that. I believe the Druze call themselves Muwahidun, right, or something like
Right.
that.
The believers in one God, kind of.
Yeah, believers in one God. So the idea is that the idea from the Druze perspective, to my understanding, is we are not Muslims. Muhammad was just one person who delivered something that he may or may not have properly understood, but Islam was just a stepping stone for different people. The actual deep and most true faith in the sight of the one true deity, one true God, is the Druze faith, and only a small group of people within the Druze actually have access to the religious text of the Druze, which are called the Epistles of Wisdom, and so they actually see themselves as the proper Unitarian, the proper believers in the one God, while Muslims are not seen as proper, as people who actually have a proper faith. They are rather seen as people that have a slightly misunderstood or corrupt faith, or something like that, to my understanding, right?
Pretty correct. I mean, I will add to that the Druze kind of believe that it's like 1,000 years old new age religion. They believe that God gave different religions, different groups of people, different prophets to come and point at the one God. You know, the Jews had Moses, the Christians had Jesus, the Muslims had Muhammad, and they also believe, you know, that the Hindus and you know, other groups have different ways of interpreting faith, and it's all pointing to the same direction. And then God gave them the secret understanding of what is exactly happening to put it all together, but that all religions are right, basically. And for a while, the Islam, al-Hakim bi-Amrillah, which was, you know, the ruler, the Khalifa in Egypt back then, which is a funny story about him. I don't know if people know that. He was a very controversial one. And one of the rules that he made, I mean, when I studied, that's, you know, what my professors for Islam told me, that he made a rule that it's illegal to make sandals for women. And one of the reasons, the main reason, was because women should not leave the kitchen, and they don't need to have shoes. And he was like a bit of a crazy guy. And then at a certain point, he was walking naked and he just disappeared into the streets. And funny enough, the Iranians believe that this is like the how do you call it? You know, the imam that is going to come back, the disappearing imam.
The Mahdi.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, at a certain point, the Druze were asked a question and said, wait. You mentioned something about reincarnation. The Muslims asked the Druze. And the Druze said, yeah, I mean, reincarnations happen. There's a lot. They took everything from the East, from the West. They kind of mixed all religions together and took what they like and built a new religion. So then the Muslims asked them, wait, so can a prophet come after Muhammad? And the Druze said, of course, if God wants, and he want to send the prophet, you know, in a different time to come and teach the people, of course. And that was the moment that they said that they are kuffars.
Because you can't say you can't say
Muhammad
that
is
a
the
prophet came after
seal of the
Muhammad.
prophets, and he's the last prophet. And they started killing them. And then began the 1,000 years of surviving a genocidal attempt under the Islam. And that's why they fled from Egypt and they went to Syria, Lebanon, and Israel, and mostly were hiding in the mountains, easy to protect these areas, and were farmers and fighters at the same time. And which explains what you're seeing right now in Syria, and that is, you know, the blessing and the downfall of the Druze. They're very proud people, and they would rather fight till the end rather than bend the knee to Sharia. And we're seeing it right now happening. They have about 60 tribes in Syria that are coming at them with the government, with military drones and tanks and I don't know what. And the Druze there have been in a siege for over half a year. They barely have running water. The fighters that are fighting in the streets right now, they have a small canteen and they drink one sip and give it to their friends. The people that I'm talking, there's different companies running in the streets fighting, and they go on rescue missions to rescue orphans, kids that just saw their parents being slaughtered. And now they're running with kids with them, trying to protect these kids and running away from these jihadists. But what makes it very difficult for them is that it looks like Qatar or Turkey, someone has been providing military-graded drones to these jihadists. So they're dropping at them from the sky and killing them. And It's making it very, very hard for them to move and defend one another in their own mountain. But they're still not giving up. They're still fighting until the end. And unless, I think when I speak to all of them, all of them are saying the only one that can save us is Israel. Israel is the only one that will save us.
So let's get back to what's happening right now. So the media is really, really messed up. I guess over the last 2 years, it has become kind of normal to just talk trash about Israel in media as much as possible. So there have been some really messed up headlines about what's going on, such as amid sectarian violence, Israel bombs Syria, or what is happen? Why is Israel claiming to protect the? It's like everybody knows exactly what's. Everybody familiar with the conflict knows exactly that the Druze are being massacred right now, and Israel had to necessarily step in and all that. And now it's a whole controversy. But let's talk about what's happening right now, because right now, after Jolani and his Islamist government promised to somehow establish peace and coexistence in Syria, now especially over the last few weeks, we have seen this incredible attack against the Jews. How exactly did this start? What exactly happened here? I see that from the Islamic side, I see some accusations such as that the Jews are provoking it, and that they are that they are fighting or something like that. But it seems quite obvious that the Islamists are making excuses and twisting things. But what is going on really? How did this start?
Yeah. I will just say to your first comment also, it's very interesting how we can always trust mainstream media to cover for the bad guys and make the good guys look bad again and again. It's like 100% success rates. It's very, very weird how they keep doing that. But to your question about the Druze, so when Jolani took power, one of the first things that he demanded is that the Druze will hand out their weapons. And the Druze, which have a history with Jolani, because his people have murdered the Druze before and kidnapped, and etc. He's a terrorist. He's like a decorated terrorist. So they told him, sorry, we're not going to give up our weapons. We know what's happening here. We need some assurance. And they also told him, you did not take this government by democratical ways. You just took it by force, and all your people are ISIS and Al-Qaeda. You're ISIS and Al-Qaeda. So until we see that there's a proper election here and Syria has been governed in a way that is Syria for the people, and there were many Muslims actually that also agreed with that, the peaceful ones there. And then Jawlani said, no, you're going to hand up your weapons. And the Druze, they know Haybar, ya Yahud. They know the stories from the Quran, and they know what usually happened when someone surrender to Islamist groups. They will slaughter you and take your daughters. So they said, no, we're sorry. And meanwhile, the war, like you said, the massacre of the Alawites was happening at the same time, and there was suicide bombings of Christians, and etc. And the government was not doing anything to stop that. So the Druze said, we're not going to give up our weapons, and we're going to keep the right to defend ourselves. So since then, they've been trying to frame them as terrorists, actually. And the collision started when there was, a fake recording. I don't know if it's fake or not, but there was no way to prove it. Actually, many people are saying that it's fake, of a Druze sheikh that was mocking the Prophet. And that's when they went. What is that?
I think I read that it is almost definitely fake.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't want to say it because I'm Druze, and then people say, of course, you say it's fake. So I'll leave it to the people to decide. But from what, every possible way and test that they did to it, it's fake. So it was an excuse that ignited this bloodthirst need of the jihadists, Al-Qaeda, Islam in Syria to go and kill the Druze. They were just looking for an excuse. And then Israel said basically to Jolani, hands off the Druze. And also Israel sent the message to Jolani that if you bring your forces down of Damascus, we will kill them. And there's a reason for that. It's not just because the Druze, it's because Israel know who Jolani is, and they know the people in Syria. We in the Middle East, we know things that I think people should start listening to us when we tell them who is who and what is what. So he couldn't really come and slaughter the Druze, and he was sending his proxies, the Bedouins, to come and do that. And the latest,
I want to very briefly, if you can hold that thought, I want to very briefly address that one issue here between Israel and Syria, because there are some people who are suggesting that Israel caused, or Israel is the one that actually brought Jolani into power, or that Israel helped, or something like that, because of some statements that Israel made after Assad fell and after Jolani took over. If there is any foreign government that directly helped Jolani and the Islamists get into power, it's not Israel, it is Turkey.
Yeah.
Turkey was directly there with them. Turkey organized, Turkey planned with them, Turkey did things with them, and Turkey is definitely no friend of Israel. And the Islamists in power are definitely no friend of Israel either. Israel did not celebrate or put the Jolani into power. What Israel did do is, however, is to, when Assad fell, Israel, the current Israeli government, expressed some joy and some relief that Assad fell, and then hopefully and cautiously hoped that there would be some way to establish a new government, even with these Islamists, maybe to make a deal and to seek some peace. However, they did this cautiously. Israel is not a fan of either side here. Israel, however, had a long conflict with Bashar al-Assad, who was a sworn enemy and who was together with Iran and the so-called Axis of Resistance and all of that. But nobody actually ever trusted Jolani and his Islamists to somehow now be these peacemakers and all that. It was only a possibility to somehow maybe seek a deal, but Israel went in to temporarily occupy and watch in some territories in Syria just because they don't trust the new Jolani government after Assad fell. But yeah, go ahead.
Let's talk also, maybe with your permission, about how failing our Muslim countries just keep again and again failing. Like, Jolani had the best opportunity in the world. Thanks to Israel, the Assad regime fell down and he took over the government, and Europe and America were all coming to him and trying to normalize the relationship. Israel came and said, yeah, let's normalize the relationship. And he did not do anything to make Syria better. And all he did was try to ethnically cleanse and murder, and now plunged Syria into an epic scale civil war, while he could have, if he would have only not tried to massacre minorities, he would have probably had a good country.
Yeah,
a good start. And I'm sure that all of the world would have really went and helped him. Everybody. I think everybody would have wanted Syria to see it succeed, except for the Muslims. They just want to burn everything that they touch, in Syria, the radical ones. So it's just a crazy situation. And Israel knew that. Israel knew that they can't trust Jolani and they can't trust his people. And that's why, by the way, thank God, Israel doesn't listen to anyone when they want to do stuff. And they went and they did the biggest airstrike in the history of probably maybe until Iran, that they went and destroyed the entire military of Assad almost, all of his air force and a lot of stuff and chemical weapons that were trying to build and all these things. Because just imagine if it would have fell down to the hands of these hooligans. What would have been seen now? I mean, I don't think they can fly any of these stuff, but in general.
it was kind of a funny thing, though. It was kind of funny. After Assad fell, Israel just went in and started mass bombing military locations all over Syria, and the world is like, "No, what are you doing? Stop! You can't do this." And Israel is like, "Okay, give us a minute. We'll just be done with this, and then we'll get out." But they just keep doing it, and Jolani doesn't even say anything. He's just completely quiet, which is,
of course. In general, the Syrian army is on the bottom of the food chain as an army right now in the Middle East. Like, they're the weakest in the Middle East. They have no training. There's a bunch of jihadists that literally barbarians, and they don't have strategy, no tactics, and they don't want to mess with Israel. I mean, that's going to be a very bad thing for them. And if you ask me, they're really pushing it right now, because I feel like Bibi made that promise to the Druze. He didn't really think it through that much. Like, he said, it's the right thing to do, loyalty to my Druze people, our friends, our cousins. But he didn't really think that, these idiots will really come and try to slaughter the Druze. And now he's, stuck in the point where, should we really go and obliterate them? Is that where we want to go? I heard a funny, crazy theory today from an Israeli Middle Eastern specialist. He came in and said, if there is a chance even that Jolani have changed and became moderate, but he can't control his country, maybe he's hoping that by sending all these jihadists to the south, Israel will just get rid of all of them for him. Meanwhile, he will run away to Turkey, hide, and then come back and then he'll be able. And I was like, wow, that is a far stretch. But I mean, hey, I'm all up for it. Any one of these jihadists that goes to hell to meet 70 demon goats and he's the only virgin there, I'm for that. I'm for that. That's what they're gonna get. They're not getting any virgins, you know. So yeah, people will criticize Israel whatever they do, and I can say for a fact, Israel is the best country in the Middle East for minorities. It's the only place in the Middle East that minorities have complete freedom of religion, with all the problems that they have. It's a country. It's like have a lot of downfalls, like any country.
I want to. There's a very funny story behind. When I say funny, I don't really mean funny, but there's a very, very interesting story or history behind the Druze politics in this area. By the way, we talked over the last few years a lot about mandatory Palestine and how when the Ottoman Empire fell and the British took over, they had a project to establish a Jewish homeland in the region and all that. At the same time, there were also works in Syria under the French leadership and the League of Nations to establish different states, different territories within what is called Syria, such as Greater Lebanon, then a state here in the west for the Alawites. And this was very much done or designed with demographics in mind, because this western part here, there's a large Alawite population even to this day. And then there would be a state of Damascus, there would be a state of Aleppo, and there is something down here, which is Jabal al-Druze state, so the mountain, the Druze mountain, the mountain of Druze state, which was part of the plan around the city of Suwaida, which is right now under attack from Islamists today, because at that time, the Druze were the vast majority of the population here in this place. They were, I think, over 85% of the population, then Christians and very few Muslims. So the same thing, to my knowledge, is still the case today. The place here is vastly populated by the Druze, with a small Christian minority and very few Muslims, actually. So there is, of course, a lot of pressure because the new Islamist regime just took over Syria. Now they have two remaining sections left. In fact, if I can put that on a map, that would be very, very good. There are two remaining issues left in this country. Oh yeah, here they have it. They have it very nicely right here. So there are two remaining issues left here for the Islamist government. Well, if you don't count Israel. So Israel was already in possession of these Golan Heights, which the Islamist regime indicated they might be able to recognize as Israel if they can somehow make a peace solution, which seems very unlikely right now. Israel also passed or crossed the borders and occupied these territories to say we're temporarily holding on to this and ensuring the safety here until we guys come together to an agreement. Then there is, aside from the larger Islamic control, there is the Kurdish and other minority factions to the right. But here, as you can see, in line with the historical presence of the Druze, there is the Druze autonomous section. And this is what the Islamists and what Jolani have a problem with, because the Druze, they fear for their safety, so they want to hold on to their weapons, they want to hold on to their security, their safety, and want to say, we are going to take care of ourselves right here. And the Islamists and Jolani say, no, everybody should lay down their weapons, everybody should get rid of their weapons, you should leave the security to us. And the Jews say, no, we don't want to do that, because we don't know what the Islamists are going to do to us if we lay down our weapons. We don't trust you guys. And now the Islamists are finding excuse after excuse to come, and as you can see here, marked on the map, to fight with the Jews and to massacre them. And we have videos. There are some really messed up videos, and I don't want to show any of those videos except for maybe one or two that are not very graphic. Videos of things that the Islamists themselves are filming as they're doing them to the Jews. to the Jewish civilian population and putting online on the internet and then bragging about it. The last thing that I saw was how above the gates of some place they hanged the dead bodies of several Jewish people, basically as a sign of, hey, we are in charge here.
Mm-hmm. I've seen some horrific videos where they just, slaughtered elderly people in their homes when they were drinking mat tea in the morning. In the hospital where they killed, babies were killed, charred bodies. It's very similar to what Hamas did, and they have the same glee in their eyes when they do that, the same celebration, and they keep, shouting Allahu Akbar. The more people they kill, the more they feel like they're doing the work of God. And yeah, it's a very messed up situation. That's a cool map, by the way. I need to start using that.
Yeah, this is so liveuamap.com. They have a very good system where they keep track of what's happening everywhere. I've been using that for a while now. It's very, very, very useful. Very useful. So here is a video that has been going around, and this is a very respected man. I don't remember his name.
Sheikh,
Yeah.
he's 80 years old. I forgot the name, some start with an M, but yeah, he's an 80 years old Sheikh, a very respected, known, very peaceful guy. And they, as you saw in the video, they went and they got him and they humiliated him, beat him up, shaved him. I heard that he was executed, but then I saw some tweets coming out that he actually survived. So I'm not so sure his state, but that's not the only one that they shaved and killed.
Yeah.
And in
So
some cases, they're shaving them with a knife, not even a shaving blade, just,
yeah. And you can see here the desperate situation. This is an 80-year-old man. He is an 80-year-old sheikh, a leader in his Jewish community, and they're going and shaving his mustache as a sign of humiliation. These Islamists actually are such evil, horrible, cowardly bastards that they go to an old man and record themselves humiliating this old man by shaving off his mustache, which is a very deliberate thing to do. They are shouting things like, these mustache wearers, these mustaches will cut off their mustaches. The mustache is very important because the Jews have had the mustache as a cultural, a religious symbol of honor, and also to distinguish themselves from the Muslims who keep who shave their mustaches off. So the Jews are recognized in Muslim society because of their mustaches, and here they are shaving off their mustaches. And according to some reports, he was later on executed. According to others, he's alive. There was another one which I saw, which I thought about this all day long. I don't know, man. It's just
that's a heartbreaking one. That's a heartbreaking one.
You see here a simple man who is completely helpless.
شوارب علنا شنو انت؟ شنو انت؟ شنو انت؟ خنزير انت شنو انت؟
What is he saying, by the way?
He's telling him, who are you? Who are you? And this guy is telling him, what kind of a question is that, you son of God? Like Ibn al-Halal, like son of dignity. He's telling him, like, what kind of an answer do you want from me? And then he slaps him and keeps telling, who are you? Are you a pig? And you can see he's actually trying to even talk, calmly and respectfully to them. Calling him Ibn al-Halal is like, son of dignity, or honorable person. Like it's a nice way to approach. Of course, he doesn't think they are, but it's just like you said, it's an evil. Interesting enough, when people see these images and they see these Syrian jihadists, and I've been saying that a lot because I live in Germany, and I tell a lot of people here, a lot of these jihadists that are seeing in Syria are in Europe right now. They're not that rare in Syria. And what's even very concerning right now is the question, is Syria becoming the next Gaza? Because you don't see almost any condemnation from the Syrian people. The media is all supporting that. There's a lot of Syrian people that are supporting that. And they literally maybe in some ways have sworn alliance to Al-Qaeda, because Jolani is Al-Qaeda. So Syria is becoming literally, and that's why I think many experts are saying that Syria is so close to an epic scale civil war. And it's not just a cool thing to say. I call Syria the Mad Max of the jihadist. You know, it's the Mad Max of the Arab world.
Yeah. Here you have them bragging about.
A bunch of idiots. Say,
He's
"Allahu
saying
Akbar, let's kill the pigs."
we will behead the pigs. That's what he's shouting here.
Yeah.
As they are on their way to visit the Druze.
Friendly people, after all.
Yeah. It looks like they're just after peace here, man. All they want is peace, you know.
I really wonder if people understand in the West that the moment that these kind of people become a majority in your country, that's how your country is going to look. Yeah. That's how your country is going to look. There's no way that's going to turn the other way.
Wherever it goes, it poisons and destroys everything, man.
Yeah, yeah. It's very it's a crazy situation. And you mentioned something about the media. I was yesterday at the Charlie Kirk show. Charles Kirk. Yeah, so
Charlie Kirk, yeah.
Yeah, very cool podcast. And the guy there asked me a question. He said, not in any malicious way. He just said, Israel just bombed Syria. Why are you guys doing that? And I came and I said, you know, it's very funny how your mainstream media choose to show you what they choose to show you, but they forgot to tell you that for the last 3 days, the Syrian regime have been, you know, slaughtering Druze and Christians right, left, and center, trying to complete genocide, ethnically cleanse the whole mountain. And then Israel went and told them to stop, and they listened. So they bombed their Pentagon, and then they stopped. So, but the mainstream media, like you said, you know, they like to portray anything that will make Israel look bad, and they will just really ignore anything that will make the jihadists bad.
I saw a post yesterday on one of those very popular anti-Israel accounts, those anti-Israel news accounts, which just posted an image of a hospital, you know, the hospital that was reported. Are there any details about that, by the way? So yesterday we saw videos going around of Druze seeking shelter in a hostage, and a woman or a nurse filming and saying, we are in a desperate situation, we are all trapped here. Later on, a video started going around showing the people inside the hospital all dead. Is that accurate? Was that,
as far as I know from the sources that I've been getting reports, that is very correct. I've heard people for some reason saying it's not, but I've seen so many videos from different cameras, different angles, showing the same hospital with only dead people inside and outside. So, and it's not like I've seen this video before. So from what I've seen so far and everything I've seen, including, like, you know, a baby in a box and just dozens of bodies outside, the whole staff is dead. And I'm talking to the people on the ground in Syria. They're telling me the same. They're telling me the hospital's not operational anymore. The doctors and nurses were slaughtered inside. The electricity is down. They burned the place down. Maybe it's just not a functional hospital. So everything that I'm hearing right now indicates that they went and slaughtered the hospital and took it out of commission.
Yeah. So I don't want to show the video here, but but in the video you can see, so in the first video you can see a bunch of injured people and saying we are in a desperate situation. We have no way to go in the Suwaida hospital. And then later on, a video comes out from the same place showing the entire place full of nothing but dead bodies, all dead bodies. And according to the local witness accounts, the Islamists basically were waiting outside and taunting the people, and eventually went inside the hospital and started killing everybody in there, from old to adult to young to child to baby. So some really messed up things happening there. And what I was going to say is, from one of these anti-Israel accounts, I saw a post yesterday just showing a screenshot of that hotel with people dead inside, and all it said was a hospital has been completely, or everyone inside this hospital has been killed in Syria, and so on. And the comment section, you should have seen it, is all, why is Israel doing this?
Yeah, my God. You want to hear the craziest Muslim spin-off that I've heard? And
Yeah.
we're actually witnessing history in the making, guys, repeating itself. So in 48, the Muslims came and tried to basically genocide all the Jews. They lost. They ran with their tails between their legs. And then they called this the Nakba Day, because the Jews, basically kicked them out because they came to murder them. And many of them ran, actually. They didn't kick all of them, just told them, don't come back. Syria now, they came to slaughter all the Jews, and then Israel intervened and saved them, and they lost the first, round. So now there's a lot of reports circling around these, Arab media outlets showing images and interviews with like poor Bedouins, and they're all saying that the Druze are trying to ethnically cleanse the Muslims in Syria, and that's why.
How is it even possible?
They're creating this in the second. It just shows you what a bunch of lies they keep saying. And I'm thinking, like, wait a second. You came with tanks on them, with military drones. They're a bunch of farmers in the mountains, and you came to kill them in their houses. You killed them in their houses. You butchered, you filmed, you recorded it, and then you lost. And then you're saying that they're trying to genocide you, and you're selling, and probably people are falling for that. 100%. College students in the US, easy will fall for that. That's like,
yeah. You had over the last few days, lots of people saying, "Why is Israel is looking for another problem here?" Look at this one here. OSINT Defender, supposedly an OSINT account. Israel, who less than a week ago was bombing Iran, is now bombing the military and government in Damascus that kicked Iranian-backed forces out of Syria. Israel once again proves that it will do anything to prevent a unified and stable Syria. 4,800 likes at this point. This post immediately comes while
356,000 views. Yeah.
While the Islamists are massacring Druze, while the videos of them massacring Druze are going around, after Israel repeatedly warned the Syrian government to say, step in and protect them, do not participate or else. And Israel then clearly showed, and we have also seen all before our eyes, Israel didn't need to show anything. We have seen clearly before our eyes, not only did the Jolani government fail to protect the Druze, we have also seen very clear evidence, proofs of members of the Jolani government directly going and participating in the massacre of the Druze there, upon which Israel said, okay, we warned you.
Yeah.
So Israel started bombing the hell out of Syrian government facilities and army facilities. And
Israel actually started gradually, even. In the beginning, they shot one warning missile to a field and a bunch of jihadists. Then they shot a tank. And then after a while, when they saw it's getting more and more, they just literally bombed the living hell out of their Pentagon. And regarding, the claim that it's not the army, it's such a ridiculous thing to claim. That's like, you see them and they're doing it, the army, and then they claim it's not. Who have drones? There's literally military drones dropping stuff on them. There's tanks and artillery shooting and shelling the villages there. So, and then they say, no, it's not the army. but that is such a Islamist thing to say.
Yeah, he also Jolani also came out saying that we stand with the Druze or something like that, which dude, your armies are seen massacring the Druze. Who are you kidding?
Yeah, no, Jolani have completely lost control over Syria. Like, there's, even if he tries to stop them, and I don't think he is, no one would listen to him. Syria have literally became Mad Max of the jihadists around the globe. And that's why there's actually, the Druze have caught several Chechen fighters and other fighters. There's jihadists coming from all around the globe to go and celebrate and feast. And I've said that one time in my show, and I think it's important for people to understand, the radical Muslims are trying to live like the days of Muhammad, the Prophet, and his warlords. And they're not accountants. They don't have pensions. They don't invest in SP 500. They're not doctors. The way they make a living, a lot of these people, is literally by creating war gangs, and then they drive to different places and they kill the man and take the women as sex slaves and then loot everything.
Yep.
And then repeat. And you have a lot of these different factions, and they always come. That's why when you see jihadists driving in a column, a lot of times they will ask, hey, which faction you're from, which group you're from. And they get excited from that. That is, there's an interesting thing about this video. Maybe you play it and then I'll say it.
Yeah, so this video here, the guy is singing, or they're singing together. There's no wait, let me see.
هذا صديق
No more mustache.
والسويدة بدي غني هذا الموال ما ضل شارب يا سويدة وما ضل شروال ما ضل شارب يا سويدة وما ضل شروال.
Okay, he's saying there are no Sharabi left in Sweden.
Mustaches. There's no mustaches left in Sweden and no more sharwal. This is like the Druze pants, the religious pants that they have.
Okay, yeah, so like the shalwar.
Yeah, the sharwal, yeah. But a very funny, interesting thing about that, sorry for cutting in, there's another picture that I posted on my social media that very shortly after this song, where you see what seems to be their pickup truck with these guys, and especially him, completely mushed into pieces. You can barely recognize anything except from some pieces of his beard and his face. And it looks like Israel, shot a hellfire into his face. So that made me happy.
That wasn't a good ending for him.
Well, he did not have any mustache left after that. Let's just say it that way.
So he's singing here gleefully and joyfully. This is Sweden. Sweden, once again, the city of the Druze. There are no more mustaches left here. By mustaches meaning Druze, and no more shalwar left. So their pants left, implying that they ripped them off or killed them. But then later on, this guy is killed by Israel. Very good.
Yeah, very good. But it just shows you that there's a clear ethnical cleansing attempt that is happening in Syria.
Yep.
And no one in the Western world is either aware of it or they're not caring about it too much. And it's heartbreaking because for people who don't know, the Druze contain probably less than 1.5 million worldwide. It's a very, very small community. And it is a very, very endangered community, especially in Muslim countries, like any other community, basically. And do not really care about the massacre and the slaughter of the Druze in the most horrific way. Just it makes you kind of think, like, kind of understand how the Holocaust happened and how everybody pretended, like now, think that they're all heroes. If I was there, I would not let it happen. Yeah. And I would probably do something. But, if you were there, most likely, there's few people that will speak, not the majority.
This is kind of remarkable, actually. So Druze, so Mansur basically earlier just explained it, but contrary to most groups out there, do not allow conversion. In fact, if a Druze marries a non-Druze person, the person is generally considered rejected and shunned and all that. So there is literally no way of getting of converting to or becoming Druze later on. So it is a completely closed community. Nevertheless, despite that, a very significant number in the world that survived by themselves, protecting themselves as a community. And now there are attempts by the Islamists to get rid of them, to kill them.
Do you know one of the reasons that the Druze and the Jews get along so well is because they don't have any missionary need or want in their life. The Druze can't convert you. The Jews don't really want to convert you. They make it very hard to join them. And they basically have this philosophy of live and let live. So that's why they got along very well, because, it's very nice to have, a roommate that accepts you as you are and tells you, yeah, do whatever you want, man. I'm fine with you as you are. And that made them, work very well together, but that doesn't work in most Muslim countries. There's no such thing as live and let live. There's submit or die. Yeah. And
That's the big problem. So there were reports that that while this was happening, they were also going after Christians. I tried to confirm some of it. It seems that necessarily they probably targeted some Christians, because there are also after Druze there is a Christian minority in Sweden, which are the other only group that actually really lives there in peace with the Druze. And there were reports that the Islamists did kill Christians in this as well. There was one report which is confirmed that they actually burned down or burned and pillaged the inside of a church in Sweden, which I have here, which I also posted. You can see it. This is the Saint Michael or Mar Michael Church in Sweden, Syria, where we have footage after they went through. They burned and broke and kicked things inside the church. I'm not sure about the number of Christians that have been killed. There's barely any way to confirm the number of Druze that have been so far killed here, because the Druze are very much on their own, and the Islamists and their government are trying to just hide everything and suppress everything, and the only ones standing by the side of the Druze are Israel. So things are really cloudy. And one thing is for sure, I said it, David Wood said it on my channel, we said it together many times, many others have said it, the idea that this Islamist government, that Jolani would come in and then be a solution, right, to make for a peaceful Syria, is complete nonsense. You cannot coexist with Islamists, and these guys are Islamists.
Yeah, and Islam doesn't never de-escalate, only escalates. And also just the fact, that's the thought, that a decorated jihadist will one day put a jacket and start looking like a hipster, and then you think, oh, okay, he's a good guy now. I mean, we need to remember that he was in Al-Qaeda and in ISIS at their peak of evilness. And he was not just, he's an Olympic level terrorist. He's decorated. He became like a leader in both. And then he jumped and he started his own startup. I call jihadists taking over countries, I call it the Muslim startup. When the Jews have a startup, they start something, then have a unicorn idea. So two jihadists will come to say, listen, I have a unicorn idea. What we're going to do is we're going to kidnap a country, and then we're going to control the education system, and we're going to oppress everyone, and then we're going to make everybody miserable and poor, and then we're going to blame Israel, and then we're going to attack Israel. Israel's going to get pissed, come and start kicking our ass. We're going to use everyone as human shields. Me and you are going to get out of the country, pocket all the money, like others do, and then we're going to become rich. And I tell you what's the best part, the world will start hating Israel, so we'll start sending us more money. And then the other Ahmed is like, no way, Habibi. No, I'm telling you it's going to work. No way. Listen, Gaza did it, Palestine did it, Sinwar did it. I'm telling you, Arafat, he invented that. No, really? Yes, let's do that. And they go and they kidnap a country, they oppress their own country, they mess with Israel, America, they get their ass kicked, they hide behind the women and children, and everybody sends them donations. They take all the donations, they steal the food from their people, and they do it on repeat. And I think they got onto it, that it's working. So I think Jolani is doing the same thing.
Basically London, UK.
Yes.
That's what
it's happening in the UK. Yeah.
It's happening all over the West. And
it's in the UK. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is what we need to put a stop to. I mean, I have been talking about this forever, for ages now. We're talking about it here all the time. This is how, I'm sorry to say, but this is how Islam functions. I'm not going to make a distinction here between Islamist and Islam. This is just how Islam functions. I'm sorry to say it. I'm not sorry to say it, actually. This is how Islam functions. And people need to call it out, put a stop to it, turn their backs on it, get rid of it. And foremost, it should be for the Muslims themselves. The Muslims themselves should find a better way of living, with truth, with goodness, with peace, instead of following the Islamic evil from which they themselves suffer. They live in a dark, messed up world where they repeatedly always destroy their own countries and their own communities, make themselves and each other suffer, and then make everybody else also suffer, And then they say, "Oh, it's actually not our fault. It's America. It's Israel. It's their fault. They're doing this to us. It's because of them. Look, we are killing each other because of them. Look, we
Yeah.
destroyed our own country because of them." Stop with Islam.
And then they run to a new country that have better life, and they repeat.
Yeah.
They want to destroy that country, enforce Sharia law in that country, and then that country get destroyed, then it will jump country. That's why, you know, that they're behaving like a plague. Really, it's the most dangerous thing almost that the world is facing right now.
Yep.
And the people like me and you get called a lot of names for actually trying to warn them.
That's true.
Because we've seen it. I've seen it, you know, especially in the special forces. I've went and I've seen the darkest sides of Islam. I've seen like really evil stuff. Now people are starting to see a lot of things that I saw before because you have social media. But I've been seeing this shit for a very long time. It's just evil.
You know what? When so I grew up Muslim myself. You know, I know how Muslims think. I learned how Islamists think and how they view things, what they believe, and all of that. And I have for a long time now spoken out against Islam and have received death threats and all kinds of messed up things myself. I have occasionally heard and seen of certain things, but in all honesty, Mansur, when October 7 happened, and I saw the videos, and then I went there, and I saw even more, and I talked to people, even to me, with my Islamic background, it really, really messed me up. And I couldn't believe how people can actually do things like that to another human being. So if even to me this is very shocking and unfathomable and all that, I can understand that people who don't have a background or any familiarity with Islam and the Middle East might not understand this at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a wickedness, and that the rejoicing over killing was brought to life so strong in October 7 that I think many people in the world just kind of shut down. They kind of like, I can't believe this is, how can this really be? And it's hard for people to imagine in the West that there is places in the world that this is the majority of people that want that see that.
Yep.
There is places in the world that this is not just serial killer, crazy person. Like literally, most of the people there would support that, will want that. One of these places is Gaza. They wanted that, they supported that, they celebrated that. And there is place in the world that's just evil. Like, you know, in a generalization, you know, perspective, there is just places that are evil.
Yep.
There's very evil, you know, practices there. They treat women so wrong. They treat children so wrong. You know, let's not talk about LGBT and other stuff. That's like, you know, complete death sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And the West, I think, many places, they just can't really understand that this could be. And they always try to make excuse for them. It must be because of misunderstanding, because of oppression, because of that, because of this. October 7th, the cruelty didn't surprise me because I've seen that cruelty many times. I stopped many of these cruel people, sometimes after they did the action or not, but the velocity of it shocked me because, and also it just hurt me so much because there is religions in the world that, you know, cherish life, and life is such a sacred thing. Among them is the Jews, the Druze, Christians in many places in the world. And seeing how they came and just rejoiced so much in the humiliation that they could cause, and how many can they kill and rape and burn and film themselves and laugh at them, just like these guys in Syria right now, singing and laughing about how can they kill and humiliate and etc. It felt like, you know, something so beautiful fell into the hands of monsters, and it just really hurt you inside. It was just an ugly feeling inside.
And this is why people need to oppose such a dark, messed up religious belief and ideology. It leads people to all kinds of darknesses and all kinds of evils. I've seen lots of them online justifying what is happening right now and saying, "Oh, yeah, no, they deserve it. They deserve it. They are basically like the Jews, the Druze. They are this and they are that." And
Honestly, the Jews are one of the best things that happen in the Middle East, and I'm saying this as an Arab. And it's so important. Seriously, Israel is the only hope for peace in the Middle East. And it's unbelievable how backwards most of these people in the West got it. It's literally, it's the only place that treats people fairly. It's the only place that is safe in the Middle East, that, empower minorities, and that also is protecting minorities. I mean, look what happened to minorities outside of Israel. They're getting killed, they're getting butchered, they're getting slaughtered. So just to think about how wrong can you get it, how wrong can you be. You've been to Israel, right? You said.
Yes.
Was that your first time in Israel, this trip?
Yeah, the first time. That was in a few months after October 7. It was in at the beginning of 2024. Yeah.
Wow. Have you been to Tel Aviv and some of these places?
Yeah. I've been to, so we stayed in Jerusalem most of the time, but also been to Tel Aviv. I've been to some of the kibbutzim around the Gaza envelope. Went to where the Nova Music Festival happened, Reem. Went to Ashkelon, some of these places. Yeah.
So you've seen Tel Aviv, for example. What a liberal city. It's Tel Aviv is like Berlin, only without all the Muslim crazy guys and with a beach. That's kind of how it feels. It's with a better weather on the beach.
Yeah.
And it's a very modern place. It's a very liberal place. And then have liberal people around the world hating it so much. You couldn't get it any more wrong. It's
because
crazy.
They don't know anything. They don't know anything. In fact, I saw recently a religious Jewish guy who teaches Jewish stuff to people. He was saying that he actually doesn't really like Tel Aviv because it is basically no different from a regular European city, and it should be more Jewish in his opinion. That's what he was saying. But the irony of it was very, very funny.
Yeah, no, thank God that Tel Avivs are not listening to him. I love Tel Aviv. It's
great. Mosh Cohen says, great, Mansur, please help me connect AP to Khalifa.
Mia Khalifa, he means the porn star.
Okay,
no,
then don't
there's a very good friend of mine, by the way. You should definitely connect with him. He's a Druze Israeli. His name is Khalifa. His podcast is called The Rebellion of the Caliphs. He's very active on Telegram, does a lot of translations, etc. Also, very knowledgeable guy about the Middle East. He doesn't look anything like Mia Khalifa. He's actually a shepherd. He's actually a shepherd. He has a big beard, and he's a real shepherd. A brilliant guy. You should. You have good English.
I'm glad you clarified that. But yeah, connect me.
You got excited for a second. You got excited.
No, I didn't.
She is such a dumb girl.
She is really, really bad. She is really, really, really messed up. I mean, she doesn't live in Lebanon because her own community will not accept her. They would mistreat her horribly. They would kill her. And so she goes to the West, and then she talks trash about the only people who wouldn't mistreat her in the Middle East.
In defending the people who would kill her. Yeah.
What a... I don't even know what to say, man. Seth, that real XY says, a fatwa issued authorized the killing of Jews for criticism of Muhammad. Mansur in Germany also. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. So I deliberately don't want to talk much about Druze beliefs, about different religions, about Islam and all that, because I don't want to contribute in any way to any rumors and hearsay or hostilities against Jews by certain people here. But the Druze have a long history and a tradition of establishing certain fundamental moral values, such as respect and dignity and all that, while being completely respectful of other people's religious beliefs and simply leaving them to the others and just to furthering their own community and their own goals and all that. It would be very stupid to this claim by these Islamists that the Jews would somehow preach to their own community all kinds of bad things about Muhammad, and which ceaselessly or unnecessarily mock him and attack him, and then agitate people and all that, considering that the Druze don't even, to my understanding, to my knowledge, don't even engage much in religious teaching and religious preaching, but rather simply live life with basic moral values.
Most Druze people are not even allowed to be religious. They're kind of just live your life, be respectful, be honorable, and that's it. But just the notion that it's okay to go and slaughter a whole group of people because you believe that someone insulted your prophet, and then everybody run along with that. Like literally, people are jumping on trucks in the tens of thousands with like glee in their eyes and blood in their teeth, and they just go, let's go and behead them, because one of them sent an audio tape that is fake, and they said that he insulted our prophet. Like, tell me you have a problem with your religion without saying the word problem in religion. Like, how? This is like insane. Insane.
It is a completely unstable, messed up religious system, which just. What do you think about do you think that eventually a solution should come where the Druze are independent from Syria, from the Syrian government, if the Syrian government continues like this, and they have an independent, autonomous or independent territory adjacent to Israel, where they can work together with Israel and protect themselves from stuff like this?
I'm sure that you will agree with me on that, and I think it's important for the viewers also to hear. There will never be safety for the Druze or the Christians or any minority in Syria while they're under this Muslim regime of Syria. Never. Not today, not 100 years from now, never. And the only way that they can ever live in peace and safety is either if Israel takes them, or if the world and Israel will help them to create a demilitarized zone in that area and provide some kind of protection where Christians, Alawites, Druze, any peace-loving human, ex-Muslims, there's a lot of them in Syria. They're just afraid. They talk to me quite a lot. Like, I'm a former Muslim, but I'm just afraid to say it because it will kill me. And then they can go to the south, and I tell you what's going to happen when that, and if that happen, God willing, that will happen, is that you will suddenly see that the southern part of Syria will become so successful. It will have tourism, it will have science, it will have literature, art, business, peace, and the northern part of Syria will just keep going back in time like a bunch of savages. And I think that will piss them off even more, because for a religion that keeps claiming that they are the religion of peace and that they are the ultimate, most upgraded version of life that planet Earth have ever brought forth so far, and all humans should be like them, they're doing very, very bad with this PR kind of, come join us. We got cookies, come join us. We behead people in the streets, and we stone women under the ground, and we sex marry like young girls, and there's like only perverts will think, that's a great idea. I can go there. I can have many wives, and I can, have young girls to be my wives. So I think if the Druze will ever get that chance, and I hope they will, that would be a really good solution. It's going to also be very good for Israel. Because that's going to give kind of a buffer zone for Israel for security and keeping these jihadists further from them.
And it will probably be the first state, the first entity in the region that is actually close to Israel, and that actually Israel can have proper, good, reliable relations with.
It will probably be the second most successful country in that region. Because, like, okay, well, what was your secret? That works, man, works wonders. The moment we kick them out, science, progress, culture, beautiful, great. So much tourism. I love it. I love women are safe. Children are having proper education. No one is teaching kids to be suicide bombers. No, we don't do that here. Wow. What's the secret? Islam is left there. That's literally how to do it, man. The moment you get rid of it, things will go good. Guaranteed.
Maybe the West should listen to some of the advice here, and also take that. London should take some of the advice.
Me and you should go to the UN and open a falafel stand outside, and kind of open like buy me a falafel, buy me coffee, buy me a falafel. Open a stand outside and just start to talk to them.
Let's do it.
Or be taxi drivers. People listen to taxi drivers. We should be taxi drivers driving around the UN building, just taking them and just having conversations with them. Put some sense in them. Here's a business startup for us, man.
Octopus with Head says Israel stayed with the Druze. Yes, it still stands with the Druze. Are there, Ligmathigan says, are there clan connections between Suwaida Bedouins and Negev Bedouins? That would be even worse. I pray for the people of Jabal Druze.
No, not too much. The Negev Bedouins are more connected to Egypt. So some of them have connections with Egyptian Bedouins and with Jordanian Bedouins. Not very much with the Syrian Bedouins. They're not really connected to them.
Nice. MTX saw Westerners downplaying literal top lips being snipped off. They would rather the Druze be genocided than accept Israel is doing something good. I haven't personally seen those videos, but I've heard of them. Have you seen that? But with some Druze people's lips being cut off or something like that in the attempt to supposedly cut off their mustaches. I don't know.
I think he's meaning more about, kind of metaphorically.
Yeah, but I've seen some descriptions of that literally happening as well. But yeah. But yeah, people don't want to give Israel any good credit. Islam would rather plunge the whole world into war just so they could massacre non-Muslims and implement Sharia law. That's very Islamophobic, very rude of him. Ein Ausländer, he is some guy who gifted 50 memberships, 50 more memberships, 150.
Fell asleep on the button, man.
200, 250, 300. What's going on here? What's wrong with you?
How does this membership thing go? Like, I've seen it on my channel as well, and I gotta admit, I never really took some time to study it. So I see these people randomly giving membership, and I'm thinking, like, that's nice. 450
wow. Memberships. This person gifted 450 memberships. Well, first off, very nice, very cool, very, very well done, very nice. But what it basically is people pay some amounts of money that you can establish those ranks yourself, but people become members. So they can have custom emojis. They can have certain titles. But yeah, whenever they make a comment, they're just kind of highlighted and all that. It's kind of nice.
So anyone who's a member is actually paying money to the channel?
Yeah, mostly to the channel, but part of it also goes to YouTube.
Yeah, of course. That's great. Okay, now I know to thank them next time.
Torah is the World gifted 5 memberships and another 5 memberships and another membership, 12 memberships. People just giving out memberships here now.
I love Torah. He's a good guy.
Nice. Thank you, Torah. Rachel says, AP, I'm traveling to Israel next week, staying in Jerusalem. Any tips apart from don't go? No, definitely do go. Definitely go to Jerusalem. Right now, I think the best time to travel to Jerusalem or to travel to Israel in general was the months after October 7, because I think lots of people were afraid to go, but those were also the best times to go, probably. Right now is probably still a very good time to go, but go. Support the businesses, support the people, and also go and take in and see the beauty of Israel and the beauty of Jerusalem for yourself. Interact with the people. I was amazed when I went there, and nobody's paying me to say this, which is of course something I would say if I was paid. But go there, take it all in, enjoy it. But make sure if you go to Jerusalem to also go to the Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Museum memorial there, and to see as many religious and holy sites and historical sites as possible. And to
I would even add to that what you just said. Guys, Israel is probably safer than most places in Europe, if not. I feel safer as an Arab in Israel than in Europe. Especially as someone who's outspoken and speaking, publicly about the things that we talk about. So Israel is a very safe place. And just in the media, they make so much focus, of crazy stuff. So people thinking they're going to literally a war zone with sandbags everywhere. But it's a beautiful, safe country, very friendly people. And just like, AP said here, go to the Holocaust Memorial. That's a good experience. good. I'm not talking like in a fun way, but just a life-changing experience. It's very important.
Do it. Now you have two people saying it. See, Apocalyptic. So great to see you guys streaming together. Love you both. Greetings from Germany. Thank you all for your amazing work. Greetings to you. Greetings to you.
Greetings back. She's a great
Good
one.
to see-
I see her on my channel as well.
Good to see you here. Mosh, what's up? Cutting the mustache of the Jews, cutting the long Jewish sideburns. We both know who did the latter. Different people, same ideology. Yeah, you could say that. It's a symbolic act of humiliation done just to humiliate these people, just to subjugate them, to assert authority, to make them as little as possible, to inflict pain, emotional pain, psychological warfare, whatever it is. It's just such a nasty thing to do, man. Absolutely nasty.
Yeah. And there's a lot of love for Hitler in these sections of the world. They really like him.
Oh yeah, there is very much. I see you recently made a video about that, didn't you?
Yeah, I pissed off a lot of people. I basically said that probably 80% of the pro-Palestinians in Europe love Hitler.
Might be true. Seth, that real X spy, says Bishop Antonius said Greek, Eastern Orthodox Sweda. We will remain in the mountain until the end. God help us. From X. Oh yeah, I saw that just before I went live. I couldn't really look into it. Bishop Antonius.
Yeah. Actually, if you don't mind me saying a few things about that, there is several Christian men who died recently fighting alongside the Druze in Sweden to protect their mountains. There's several recalling of incidents, that I've heard like from numerous sources, that some of these jihadists captured a house of a Christian family and basically kept torturing them for the fun and used it as a base. And, doing all the things that we know that they do with girls and women in front of their husbands, and kept, fighting. So the Christians in El Sueda as well are in grave danger if it fall completely into the hands of the jihadists. But that's said, in general, all the Christians in Syria are in great danger with this kind of government. Sooner or later, it's going to explode in their face.
Yeah, I see that. I saw this post. I haven't checked the actual source yet, but Bishop Antonius Saad of the Greek Orthodox Church, in response to the ongoing Syrian jihadist attacks against Druze and Christians in Sweden, said, "We will remain on these mountains until the end. God is with us." Powerful. Very, very good.
Yeah.
Very nice. Sweden demographics. Let me check that quickly. I really wonder right now. According to most recent numbers, Druze make up over 90% of Sweden. Christians make up around 7%, and Sunni Muslims around 3%. It says. Okay, I see. Interesting. Hunting shark, just waiting for the UN, BBC, CNN, MSNBC, Amnesty International, Western leftists to come out and call out the genocide of the Druze.
Keep waiting.
It's too difficult for them, and they don't have the time for this. They don't have the time for this. It's too difficult.
No, it also will make their friends look bad. They don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Heavenbound hadn't even joined the stream yet and got gifted a membership. Haha, thank you. I know Slender. Oh, hi, AP and Mansur. Hi.
Good job.
Dolan is a super sticker. Thank you so much. Coffee House Dialogue. What's the update on the Christians in Syria? For as much flack as I gave Antioch for selling out to Islamism, I don't want them dead. Yeah, I also don't like how some of the people in the Antiochian church talked about the conflict and about Hezbollah and all that. That said, I would also not want to see them get hurt. So, what do you think the situation with Christians outside of Sweden is in Syria? Do you think there is like a...
If you remember, there was a suicide bombing that happened in Damascus in a church.
Yeah.
And so the guy who walked in there, apparently he came with a team of 4. And the plan was that he will go start shooting and then go Allahu Akbar and blew himself up. And then the other guys will start shooting the responders, but they kind of ran away and they were chased. There were a bit of reports in the beginning, but then it all faded out. They didn't want to talk about it too much, which is, you know, quite normal in these kind of regimes to hide the truth. But just like people need to understand that in the eyes of Islam, Christians are a much, much bigger enemy than Jews. Jews were a nonsense. There was just a small group that got subjected, slaved, you know. The real war of the Muslim empire was with the Christian empire.
Yeah.
And they got defeated by the Christian empire. They lost to them. They were never really defeated completely, but, you know, the Christian empire became later on democracy, science, and et cetera, and they stayed and they crumbled and fell down in corruptions, but they still keep that dream of one day. And that's why, you know, countries like Iran will say America is a great Satan and Israel is a small Satan. And once they're done with the other things to deal with, they will go against the Christians. Right now, they don't want to do that, although their people are going, is because they really don't want to also piss off America on top of everything. But I think don't be fooled, people in America or anywhere around the world. You know, the Christians in Syria are a very, very bad place to be. And I know several of them that talks. That's the church, exactly.
This is the Mar Elias Church, the Prophet Elijah Church in Damascus, which was bombed. When was that? Several weeks ago, almost a month ago, in June, in 22nd of June. So this was attacked by a suicide bomber in Damascus. Beautiful church was damaged, and lots of people were killed. So 31 people, including their perpetrators. So 30 people died here. I wouldn't really call them a person. Over 50 have been injured, and this was done by the Islamists under the watch of the Jilani government once again. But you bring up a good point. Sometimes we forget things, and I think the West has also forgotten it very much. And when I talk about this, when I talk about which religious group is hated more by Muslims, we do talk a lot about the very hateful and messed up language directed at the Jews. But you have a point here, which is that I also talked about this with Dr. Einat Wolf, for whom I have a lot of respect, and we also kind of basically established that throughout history, the Muslim perspective on Jews was that these guys we will eventually get rid of them, but the general perspective was that Jews are pathetic people that are at our mercy, and they should do whatever we say, and we can kick them around, and if they get out of line, we will just we will set them straight by force, and so on. But with the Christians, it was always much worse, because the Christians weren't pathetic, and the Christians had the power to fight back, and they did fight back brutally. So the Islamists, the Muslim world, still has a lot of envy and a lot of resentment against Christians, and they would love to get back at one point.
Yeah, hey, man, me and you having a podcast and having a laptop, and anyone back home to have a smartphone is thanks to the Christians, like it or not, because they stood strong and brave and defended planet Earth from the Muslims. We're living in a better world. You know, I mean, everybody did crazy stuff back then, undoubtedly, but thank God that they won. Otherwise, we'd be living under these lunatics right now.
We'd be living in a really, really, really messed up world.
Yeah.
Here's Anos Slender making more, gifting more memberships. Thank you, Anos Slender. Ophelia said, thank you. Lord SL said, Allah is Allah, Baal, or Moloch. So Allah is, I'm only speaking for myself now. I don't want Mansur to get any hate for this, but obviously, before the rise of Islam, the Kaaba was a temple that was dedicated to the worship of Hubal, and Hubal is most associated with being a pagan polytheistic Arab deity that is often associated with Baal in the Bible, because these are deities that are simply adopted from certain Levantine religions, from Canaanite religions, and all that. So polytheistic beliefs were very much known for syncretism and for taking a god that some others believe in into their own religion, into their own culture, because they didn't have the whole idea that our God is true and all others are false. They thought there were probably endless gods, so they would accept one god from here and one god from there and so on. And Hubal is probably the Arab way of speaking about Baal in the Bible. So it's very, very likely that the Arab polytheists around the Kaaba were worshipping their own perception or their own version of Baal, whom they called Hubal. And he was the god of the Kaaba and also had daughters in their culture. And Muhammad then took over that religion and turned Hubal into the one god, basically. Dissociated lots of the polytheistic aspects from Hubal, turned it into a monotheistic religion, but also kept the holy place that is for Hubal and many of the traditions that were established for Hubal, and thereby created a new religion that is supposedly Abrahamic, that is supposedly bound to Judaism and Christianity, but that is actually basically pre-Islamic polytheistic worship of messed up entities. So that is the very likely explanation here. But I'm only speaking for myself. This was very Islamophobic, I know.
I studied the exact same thing in university, and they said it 1-to-1, like you said. So the scholar in the academy who study history, that's how they see it, because there's just a lot of evidence. Alhamdulillah, exactly. What is that picture that you have on the right, on the left?
Which
behind
one? This one?
No, the other left, other right. Yeah.
This one
yeah.
here?
Yeah. Is that a saint?
Yeah, he's so I'm an Orthodox Christian now, but he's considered a saint in the Catholic Church, and he's this is Saint Maximilian Maria Kolbe, who was who in the Holocaust he was a Catholic priest who was sent to the concentration camps and gave his life to protect others, to help others, and was killed by the Nazis.
But, crazy! I didn't know that you're a Christian.
Oh yeah, I used to be an atheist, and was an agnostic for much of the last 10 years or so. I recently, half a year ago or so, started converting to Christianity. So
wow,
I am now.
You want to hear a crazy story about Christians in Syria that my friends just shared with me? Wow, I didn't know that. I always thought you were an atheist.
Yeah.
But I haven't studied too much. So my contacts in Sweden who are fighting alongside Christians said that one of the Christians in his group that's fighting alongside with him told him the story that during this invasion, the Muslims came and took his house and started, kind of humiliated them and started mocking him in front of his wife and his daughter, telling him, build a cross for us. And he kind of built, and they said, okay, called the daughter and says, would you like us would you like to see us crucify your father with nails, just like Jesus Christ? And started playing with them. Meanwhile, they were just, toying with them. And then they wanted to take the phone from the daughter, and the daughter, she's a little girl. So she was telling them, please, it's my phone, kind of just innocent girl. And then the mother said, please take my phone, don't take hers. Mother instinctive kind of thing. And then they looked at the mother and smiled and says, like, we're going to take your daughter. And, what a terrible things to hear that. And when they were kind of, taking the daughter and pointing guns at them, the mother said, the husband, he's a Christian, but he's not a following Christian. That's the story that I heard from the Druze, from the Christian himself and from the Druze himself. So they actually told the same story. And the mother went on her knees and said to her husband, let's start praying. And he said, don't pray. They'll hear us. They'll kill us. That's not a time to pray. And then the wife came and told him that is exactly the time to pray. Wow. And she started praying, and while she was praying, the Israeli airstrike landed right outside their house, blowing explosions. These guys got so scared they ran away. So they see that prayer in a way as the way that saved them. By praying, and she prayed, to Jesus and through Mary. I'm not so sure which group which affiliation she goes to. But that's just, one of the stories that are happening right now with many, many Christians and many, many Druze there. They're all just praying to God to rescue them.
Wow.
And they all are also saying the only one that is probably going to come and do that is Israel.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's very,
It was shared with me today.
that's, wow, that's very, very, that's beautiful. Thank you. May I pray that all the people in Syria, in Israel, in the Middle East find peace, and that these monstrosities end, that there is an end to this.
Amen.
Soon.
Amen.
YMP says, is Israel able to provide supplies to Sueda? I think they have been actually kind of they have established a little bit of a corridor of giving
Air
safe
supplies
passage to
mostly, but
yeah.
If you ask me, not enough. Not enough. I would wish to see more. There's something happening behind the scenes there. But in general, yes, you know, they've been supplying supplies and also firepower to protect them, but it's not enough.
I was wondering what the religious parts, what the rabbis in Israel will say about the whole issue. I saw a report earlier that the prominent rabbis of Israel all support standing up for and defending the Jews in Syria, which was very refreshing to see. And so the Times of Israel has an article now which says prominent Israeli rabbis back intervention in Syria on behalf of the Jews, and the reasoning is very simple, which is to help to stand up for those who are oppressed by the evil ones, to help the Jews who have proven over and over again that they are our friends, and so on. So it's good to see.
In general, the Druze have become one of the most loved religions in Israel. Some Jews love the Jews more than they love the Jew themselves, because throughout all the wars, you know, and all the tragedies, we stood side by side with our Jewish brothers. But October 7 was the peak where many Druze lost their lives because they jumped out of their beds, kissed their family goodbye, and just went into the pits of hell to rescue Jewish mothers that were locked in a bomb shelter with a bunch of jihadists that want to go in and kill and burn them alive and rape them. And again and again, the Druze just went and fought bravely and rescued and saved and stood shoulder to shoulder with them when the whole world hated them. And the Jews lately have just seen that overwhelming love and support. And the Jews are so used for people in the world to hate them. But when they see someone that loves them, you know, it touches them, it grabs a good spot in their heart. And I know that because I live with many of Jews. Most of my friends are Jewish. And with that, rabbis came, secular people came. The support that the people of Israel are having for the Druze is insane. It's in the government decisions making that's where, you know, politics come in and world pressure, and you have America saying things, or Saudi Arabia saying things, Turkey. There's a lot of things behind the scenes happening. That's where things get complicated. But from the support of the people, they love Israel and also I think a lot of religious people in Israel are starting to say that Israel is behaving right now like they're supposed to be, light to the nation, by going and sticking out. Israel have no logical reason to go and defend the Druze in Syria. It's an enemy country. It's citizens of an enemy country, and the regime of that country is killing its own citizens. No reason. And on top of that, they're already engaged in 650 days of ongoing war in several fronts. Their soldiers are tired. They're running, you know, lower on ammunition. The market is a big toll on the market in Israel, on the civilians in Israel. And to go and just engage in another war for the sake of minorities that are not Jewish in a foreign land is just, you know, insane. But they're doing that. I don't see Americans going and fighting in Sudan to rescue the Christians that are being genocided in Sudan or in many places, you know, in the Middle East. And that's a Christian nation. I don't see Europeans doing that at all. Israel is literally going out of her way to defend minorities, and many Jews in Israel are seeing that as the way that Israel should be, a light to the nation. They were called to be Or Goyim, and they are in many ways, you know, in startup, high-tech, medicine, all kind of stuff. But also in sticking out and defending others. And they're starting to behave for the first time. We're seeing Israel. That's coming from many military experts. For the first time, we're starting to see Israel behave like a regional power.
Yeah.
Coming and saying, we are the power here. We dictate the rules. You abide by our rules. You play by our rules. And thank God, because they're a good country. So they're saying our standards is you don't hurt minorities, you don't do crazy stuff, and if not, you're going to mess with us. And Israel never done that before.
I think after October 7, also something happened with Israel, which is kind of like this attitude of, we don't care anymore about the world's approval. We will just do whatever we think is right. So that's pretty much the attitude right now. But here is Rabbi Kalman Ber, who is the chief Ashkenazi rabbi of the chief rabbinate in Jerusalem. What he said is, we are witnessing a brutal campaign of murder against the Druze people. These are acts that we and all religious leaders around the world must not ignore or remain silent in the face of. We have seen savage beasts descend in fury upon innocent civilians without distinguishing between man and woman, elder and child. We are reminded of the dark days of history when bloodthirsty nations committed similar atrocities and the world was silent. He said, so more than 350 people had been killed this week in clashes between Druze and Bedouin fighters in Syria. According to the Monitor, 189 of those are regime troops officials, while another 79 Druze fighters, 55 among civilians, 27 summary executions. The Divine Commandment.
Way higher, by the way.
Yeah, probably much higher by now. This is also like a day old or so. The Divine Commandment, do not stand idly by the blood of your fellow, obligates us to raise a cry and stir the conscience of the entire world. Ber writes, quoting Leviticus, and describes the violence against the Druze as ethnic cleansing. We must also remember that some members of this community and their relatives live among us and are bound to us in a covenant of blood, forged in shared sacrifice for the existence of the state of Israel. He's talking about the Druze. Very, very nice.
You know something interesting about genocide attempts in the Middle East? In the last 2 years, I think there was 4 genocide attempts in the Middle East. And all 4 of them were stopped by Israel, not started by Israel. Hamas tried to genocide the Jews. It was stopped. If they could, they would. Israel stopped them. Hezbollah had a plan to genocide the Jews. Israel stopped them. Iran had a plan to nuke the Jews and genocide them. Israel stopped them. And now Syria regime, Jawlani, is trying to genocide the Druze, and Israel is working on stopping him. So the only actual 4 kind of attempts or real clear intentions and almost kind of starting it were done by Muslims in the Middle East, and all 4 of them were foiled by Israel. But then again, the media keeps saying that Israel is the one that is doing a genocide and not mentioning any of these ones that actually want to do a genocide. Crazy.
Oh, somebody just asked if you spoke Hebrew because you said, I think, light to the nations in Hebrew. But you obviously, you speak Hebrew, right?
Yeah, I'm an Israeli. I was born and raised in Israel.
Yeah, so.
Sometimes I find myself counting in my head in Hebrew. And I'm like, wait a second, do I speak Arabic or Hebrew? Or
So you speak Arabic and Hebrew both?
Arabic and Hebrew and English, and learning German.
Nice. You can learn German from me. I speak German.
Really? Oh my God, it's such a difficult language.
It is.
I know how to say Schluppi and Winke Winke. Little kids' language, Winke Winke, Schluppi.
Leonardo said, Ridwan Habibi, your Turning Point USA speech made my day. Your humor and genuineness showed. I hope everyone will see who the real enemy is in this time. Thank you. Thank you, Leonardo. I appreciate that. I really liked giving that speech, and I hope it reaches lots of people. Muslims, 1.5 billion plus people, 50 plus countries, historically current oppressors, enslavers, genociders of others. Leftists, Muslims are a persecuted minority.
It's so true. So bizarre that it's actually, people believe that.
Kemalos, during the Lebanese civil war, the Druze of Lebanon under the Jumblats were allied with the Islamists, the PLO, and against the Maronites and Israel. I think in Lebanon, some things got a little bit. I also saw some Lebanese Druze authorities over the last few years speak against Israel and against the Druze inside Israel and all that. So
It's
there seems to be a
Jumblati
little,
people. Yeah.
there seems to be a little bit of a thing here, disconnect
The
or something.
Jumblati people have, aligned their, future with communist and jihadist ideas, and many of them are full on, basically jihadist even. It's very sad to see it, but you can also see now a lot of the Druze in Syria are very upset at them because they're not saying a word.
Mm-hmm.
They would rather see their brothers get slaughtered rather than come and say thank you, Israel, or even point out that Islamists are doing something wrong. So not all. There is people standing, but yeah, there's a big problem with the Lebanese Druze community. Kind of a bit of a...
Jumblat has issued a condemnation of Israeli interference. What the heck?
Yeah, what an idiot. The only one is trying to save your brothers, and you issued a condemnation. That shows you how polluted your brain is with hate towards Israel. Anti-Semitism is a disease, man. Some people who get, infected with this virus, they behave really nasty and weird. Really nasty, against all logic.
That's so messed up. Your fellow people are getting massacred. Israel jumps in to save them, and you then speak against Israel here.
Yeah, October 7 of your people, and the only one coming to save them, you speak against them. Just shows you how crazy they are.
Messed up. Thank you for the super sticker. God used evil Assyria to punish the Jews, says Mark Vendy. Now he's using Muslims to punish the Christ-denying Jews and Jews. Who are we to stop this punishment? Mark Vendy, you really need to brush up on your rhetoric here. It doesn't work. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, man. It's pretty bad. Because I wonder how you explain the suffering that Christians are undergoing right now in these in the Middle East.
Yeah, but just to think that that God will want a little baby or a little 4 years old, 5 years old to see his mother raped in front of her eyes and then beheaded, and then that kid gets kidnapped and become a sex slave and tossed between ISIS fighters, between truck to truck, and becomes pregnant like 4 times until she's 18 and suffer a terrible fate. And to think that God wants that because he wants to punish the Jews, that just shows how detached someone can come and just say that. It's such a vile thing.
You have to be really sick and really messed up to leave a comment like that. Seriously, show yourself out and never show yourself here again, whoever you were. No avoid from Israel annexing the Druze Syrian, says Paul. Rebecca, what's up, Rebecca?
Rebecca!
Shout out to Rebecca. Rebecca is actually the one who put us both in contact, I think.
She did. Yeah, she did. Yeah. She put me in contact with a lot of people, Rebecca. Rebecca helped me out during the night of the massacre of the Druze. I went and did a live, and I ended up doing it for 4 hours because I was giving live updates. And Rebecca stayed with me for the entire 4 hours. And whenever I just teared or had to go aside for a second, she was, talking and keeping. And I was just forever be grateful for that. For what Rebecca did. She showed that she's a true sister.
Rebecca is awesome. She does a lot, and it's very, very much appreciated. Very, very much. David, what are you doing here, man? You're not supposed to be here. You're traveling. David says David Wood looks different with a hat. So, yeah. So David is the one that I usually go live with on my channel. David Wood. But he says
that highlight. Okay, fair enough. I see.
Yeah. He's acting as if you were David.
Good name.
Yeah, David said I was wanting to go live last night with David, everybody, but David said that he is that he has some, I don't know, he gave me some excuses like I have to be here, I have to be there, something like that, and yeah, couldn't do it. Always with these excuses, man.
Humans.
Monkey made a super sticker. Thank you. Appreciate that. Hyperactive brother, your voice matters. You risk more than we can imagine, and we'll never forget that. You're part of our story now. Thank you. You're not just brave, you're righteous. I think he's talking to you, Mansur.
Oh, well, thank you. If you're talking to me, then thank you so much. I'm simply trying to be right now. The real brave people in this story right now are the young men and women and the elderly, the people in Sweden, Druze and Christians that are simply trying to survive and choosing to not bend the knee to Sharia. That's something admirable. It's probably maybe not the smartest thing to do if you want to survive, especially if the world was not going to step in. You might end up dying. But they're saying, and many Druze and Christians are saying, we will not bend the knee to this evil religion, and we're going to stay here. And if we need to die with our heads up high, we'll do that. And we don't have a lot of these people nowadays that are willing to fight until the end for principles. You know, a lot of us are living today in the world that we have thanks to people like that in the past that did not give up. And, you know, we should really respect them. But thank you so much, Hyperactive 94. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Hyperactive. I saw your other comment as well. I appreciate it. Meredith Grotti, Ibrahim's sword and scimitar was enlightening. Christians have a short memory concerning our history, like West is playing checkers while Islam chess. I mean, it's just by choice, you know. It's like Western people are basically blinding themselves. They are taking the chessboard and hitting themselves in the head with it and holding it in front of their faces so that they can't really see what's happening. That's what the Western world is doing. It's really messed up. Like I have said many times now, despite all the bad things that happened in the past, I have always had great admiration for the Crusaders, for example, and how they fought, how they interfered when the rhetoric also was, for example, when the first crusade was called, the part of the main narrative was, despite the fact that we are divided with our Eastern Christian brothers, they need our help right now. The Muslims are treating them horribly and they are insulting them. They are destroying our holy places and this and that. We have to go in and put an end to this. That was the mentality. When Muslims were invading, when the Islamists were invading, the Europeans pushed back. The Eastern Christians pushed back as much as they could until they were defeated and destroyed. The Western Christians, Western Europe, the European Christians pushed back with such might, with such brutality, which is how they managed to survive and kick them back out when they wanted to come and overrun the last strongholds and turn Europe into Islam, into their goat farm. So I have so much respect for what the Christians historically did. And then suddenly, after 1,400 years of fighting back and defending against repeated attacks, everything is forgotten by complete stupidity. And suddenly we are allowing so many to simply come in and we treat them like poor little victims who just need our help. And we're saying Islam is a religion of peace. What the hell is wrong with you?
They'll be rolling in the graves. After all this time, suddenly you have Greta Thunberg, you know? Think about some of her Viking ancestors are saying, like, what the F? She's not my bloodline.
Very, very bad.
Suicidal.
People need to be aware of what Islam is. People need to be aware of how Islam operates, how Islam is. There simply is no peace possible with it. Avoid it, fight it, reject it. MT, yep, yesterday saw a video of them actually using scissors and cutting chunks of the man's top lip, not just taking off his beard.
Yeah. There's a lot of horrific images coming now and just not shown in Western media, or really, really ignored, like radio silence almost.
Carson Dimension, what about the Jews in Lebanon who have allied themselves with Hezbollah? The Jews, yeah, we just talked about them very much. So the Jews are not monolithic. It's not about Jews just going with whatever is strong. It's about the Jews having a certain, the Jews in Lebanon having adopted a certain ideology, or many of the Jews having adopted a certain ideology. It's not about just being with wherever you are. If that was the case, if the Jews were just aligning themselves with whoever is the strong one, the Jews in Syria right now wouldn't be fighting with the Islamists.
I would even say the Druze in Israel would have not aligned themselves with the Jews when they came forward, when they came, you know, in the beginning of this country. Because when the Druze, my grandfather, I remember that story very well. He told me that when he was there before the founding of this nation, when the Arabs came and said, we're going to come and kill them all, just right after the independence, and they gave a memo to all the Arabs, Muslims, and Druze, everyone, you know, they had the same memo. Get out of this country. All the nations are coming. We're going to slaughter all the Jews, river to the sea. and then come back after 2 weeks. You can take their house and etc. etc. So the Muslims said yes, went out,
Nakba.
and the Druze said no. We're going to stand and fight with them. Now, from every logical perspective at that moment, that's the dumbest thing you can do.
Yep.
All the Arab nations are coming to destroy this new young nation that barely have anything, just started out of scratch. And the Druze chose we're going to stand with them because they realize that this is the only partner that they have here. And they realize that the Jews will treat us well and we can live together. And with the Muslims here, we will never live at peace. So they chose to actually take that risk and go with the losing side. And hence, until today, they're the luckiest Arabs in the Middle East because they live under the Jewish state. So I think that's a very important thing to remind people. They don't always go with the winning force. And just like, AP said here, in Syria, they're undoubtedly not going with the winning force. They're actually going against all other 60 tribes that came and descended on the mountain of Sueda to go and destroy it. They're literally minority against the entire country.
Yeah. Shahaf Sheikh says, I dream of a state from Sueda to Lebanon included with no Muslims, where Druze, Christians, and all minorities in the Middle East can seek shelter and live in peace. Just from my observation as an outsider, I would say that that would be a very difficult thing to do because there are lots of disagreements in Lebanon here. So, but it's a nice dream.
Yeah.
Leonardo, I would like to declare myself fit in Mossab voice to be, if she's single, the husband of Rebecca Barsev. Yeah, go do it then. Talk to her.
The same Mossab voice, like Mossab Hassan voice.
Yeah, Mossab Hassan Yusuf voice.
I love that guy.
Because he's always
I love when he talks to Western feminists or liberals, like, because they get to taste a real Middle Eastern, like intense, super, like, looking at them in the eyes, and he just calls them out. You're not even a woman, and I was just cracking up.
You're repeating like a parrot the propaganda. Yeah. What Palestine? There is no Palestine. I am Palestine.
Yeah, I am Palestine. I am the children of Palestine. He's just intense in their eyes, and I'm just like, "Welcome to the Middle East, guys! Finally, someone is telling
you." Sit down and listen. Sit down.
Let me tell you, you silly idiot! You don't know nothing about the Middle East. It's like, wow, I love this guy. I saw you done a podcast with him.
Yeah, I did. It was very, very, very good to meet him in person. But it's like he has very intense moments in the middle of a conversation when he's like, I was asking him because there was a guy who came up to him in New York and started shouting at him like, you genocide supporter, genocidal. And Mossab doesn't do anything. He just walks without responding. And the video was a very short one, but he told me during the interview, he said that this guy who was harassing him actually walked behind him and filmed for like an hour or so. And I was like, what? For an hour? Was he really there for an hour? And then Mossab says to me, Mossab looks at me in a very serious face and says, do I need to repeat myself? I generally felt like, okay, I don't want to ask him anything else. Like,
yeah, don't push him. I mean, the guy had some crazy life.
It's very, very, very intimidating.
Actually, funny because me and him served kind of in the same time. Like, I was a little bit after him, but still in the same time. I was in the Israeli side in the special forces, and he was already working for the Shabak.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we never met, yeah. But a lot of the things that he recall and talk about from that times, I remember it very, very vividly from the Israeli side. So I was really, really touched by his story, and everything that he came to Christ through that thing, and it's a crazy story.
Yeah, he is a hero, and he did a lot of good things for people. Lots of people don't even know that he saved their lives, as one of the people who employed him later on said. So very, very noble. Very noble.
Imagine how hard it is for someone like him to know that he sacrificed so much, lost his entire family, risked his life to save so many people's lives, and then he comes out to the West, which is basically a lot of the lives that he saved, and he sees so much lack of appreciation, and it messes you up, because when you're in that bubble, you're thinking like, when I would go there finally, like come to a good place and appreciate me. I think that's what many ex-Muslims, or peaceful Muslims that escape the Middle East and get to Europe finally. And they're thinking like, all the time when you grow in the village or in a Muslim culture, a lot of time you feel so oppressed. You can't say what you think. You can't express your emotions, feeling. You can really like risk your life for that. And you hate that oppressive culture because you feel like you're an outside of the box person. You think differently, and you feel like you're smarter than most people around you, and no one appreciates you, and you're living in a society where only the dumb succeed and the smart ones get oppressed. And then you say in Europe is different, in Germany is different, and you met someone from there, and you read, and then you reach there and you start telling them how bad where you came from, and they start calling you an Islamophobe, and they start shaming you, and then you realize you are hated now.
Yeah.
And like that plays with you. I've seen so many people get depressed.
Yeah,
They
I heard it from lots of people. I mean, that's unfortunately the realities of our time. It's really, really weird.
Yeah.
BT2 says future stream on the Crusades. I mean, I've talked about it so many times on my channel in different live streams. Maybe at some point I would explore it with somebody who wants to talk about the history of the Crusades. But it's a very complicated thing because as I always say that fundamentally the idea behind the Crusades and the motivation was a good one. It was a noble one. It was totally necessary. But in practice, it also resulted in some really unpleasant and some really bad things, because in theory the idea was good, but then when you go into the Middle East, when you fight in a noble fight as just a collective of numerous different independent forces coming together and fighting on behalf of the Pope, for example, people start just doing their own stuff and messing things up. So the first crusade, the second crusade, the third crusade, by the third and the fourth, it got really, really messed up already. So there is a lot of nuance to it. There are lots of bad things happened, but lots of good things were the main goal of it. So it's like you always have to be careful with it. I would say it was the one aspect of it, which is to fight back against the Muslims and to liberate the Christians under Muslim rule, was a very noble cause. That said, there were lots of things part of the Crusade that were not noble at all. So, unfortunately. PC, AP, I love your channel. I watch you and David all the time. Thank you. Good to see you here. Good to see you here. All right, and I gotta go. Mansur, anything else you want to? By the way, Mansur is, as he explained, you can find him here on YouTube. I also put a link to his channel, or I tagged him in the description. So everybody, if you want more from him, check out the description, and you can directly find a link to his channel where he's doing good stuff. And I really enjoyed this stream. Anything else you want to say, Mansur, to everyone?
The pleasure was mine, man, and I very much enjoyed talking to you. You're a very clever guy, and you know your shit. So it's fun to talk to someone like that. It's refreshing to talk to someone and understand these things. But if I may just, to say the last, few words here before, is please don't forget the people in Syria right now. They are going a horrific time, and anyone here that will take some time and just share videos like that, share, even if it's horrific images, it's sad to say that, but mainstream media is not covering it. And we are witnessing a genocide of a small, beautiful religion that is not represented. They don't have a country to protect them, and they're alone. And the only one that is standing for them is Israel. But Israel, people love to hate Israel. So it's quite hard for Israel to do that. So we need the help of everyone out there to share that story, share the story of the Christians that are being persecuted in Syria, and just really, hopefully, we can bring enough awareness for politicians and mainstream media to start covering it and start to make things happen. And also, if you can remember in prayers, there's a lot of dear people there that I know that are fighting right now for their lives. And I really hope that they will stay alive.
I agree with every single word of that. And gosh, why did you share this with me? Yeah, Black Angel just shared a video. The hell, a video where they're forcing people to jump off the balcony.
In Syria.
Yeah, civilians, all that. So pray for them, remember them, share their stories. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching. I might be live again later today, or maybe not, but definitely tomorrow. But thank you so much, Mansur, for joining me. This was a great pleasure. I loved it, and we should talk again in the future.
Definitely. I'm always available for you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you so much. See you, everybody, and have a good day. And as one of my friends usually says,
stay away from Islam.